So much of the footage in that Channel 9 video was shot right in this intersection in this direction as the fire came over Mount Stromlo, which is the hill on the horizon there. You may be able to pick out one or two of the domes of the observatories up there. If we pan past my beautiful sports car, you'll see this is Narrabundah Hill, a pine forest which was pretty mature in 2003, and which, as you can see in the succeeding 17 years, they've allowed to grow back, which seems odd to me because a lot of the damage done in Duffy was from embers being thrown into the suburb from that burning plantation. That's Duffy Drive, and the fire chief drove up and down that street, as well as driving up and down Warragamba Ave. And right there in the centre of the footage is the A-frame house, which again was featured in the video, which you saw in the first 10 minutes, the person watering down the house to protect it. And then later on in the fire you saw houses either side engulfed in flames, but this one had survived reasonably well. You'll see that there's no major foliage growing close to the house. That hedge to the right is actually some distance from the home. So it's well prepped, unlike many of the houses either side of it, which have allowed substantial foliage to grow back. Now this is a strong argument for proponents who argue that we should stay and fight. As the person stayed and protected their home, it survived. But I remind you, there were 3 people in this suburb who stayed and fought who lost their lives. So this was somewhat of a marginal fire. It was large enough that it was very risky to stay and fight. In the first few minutes of the video you would have seen the firefighters hosing those trees down to try to prevent them to catch alight. After the fire, they weren't removed. There they are, they're still growing. And as we'll go down both Duffy Drive and Warragamba Ave, and we'll look at the new homes that have been built, including one directly behind the A-frame house, to get an idea of the scale of penetration of the fire into the suburb. Now, the fire looked like, sorry for the quick pan there, the fire looked like from Mount Stromlo it was going to come directly at this intersection, but in fact it actually worked its way behind us, in front of the camera here, behind this area of plantation, through something called Mount Stromlo Forestry Settlement, and into the suburb just over the crest of the hill where that white car is now. And so that was where it first impacted, and when we see the fire arrive, you can see the embers blowing in that direction. Okay, so that's stop number 2. I'm going to 2 or 3 stops around the suburb to give you some idea of what happened.